Once upon a time, in the heart of a lush green forest lived an ant colony so vast it was known as the Ant Kingdom. This kingdom thrived due to the unwavering dedication of its inhabitants who followed a strict code of conduct. They were committed to their responsibilities, which they believed was the key to their colony's success. The heart of the Ant Kingdom was a large and bustling metropolis that housed thousands of ants. Here, every ant had a specific task from the moment they woke up until sunset. The workers tirelessly gathered food. The soldiers fiercely protected the borders. And the larvae were cared for by the nurses. The queen, surrounded by her attendants, laid eggs and maintained the colony's population. One day, however, a young and inquisitive ant named Alaric got lost while foraging for food outside the kingdom. Disoriented and with the sun setting, Alaric found himself in an unfamiliar part of the forest. Suddenly, he stumbled upon a magnificent sight, a clearing filled with delectable food left over from a recent picnic by humans. It was a feast like he had never seen before. Driven by his hunger and forgetting his training, Alaric began to gorge himself on the sweet treats. He ate and ate until he felt he could eat no more. With his belly full and his duties forgotten, Alaric made his way back to the kingdom. Just as the first rays of sunlight peeked through the trees, back at the kingdom, Alaric's absence had been noticed, and the workers were dispatched to find him. When they finally located him, he was fast asleep by the entrance to the nest. The workers, furious at his dereliction of duty, dragged him to the center of the metropolis, where the queen and the elder council awaited. The queen, a majestic creature with a long and prosperous reign, was deeply disappointed in Alaric. His actions not only endangered the colony, but also disrupted the balance of their meticulously organized society. The Elder Council, composed of wise and experienced ants who had dedicated their lives to the kingdom, agreed with the queen's assessment. Alaric, boomed the leader of the council, his voice echoing through the metropolis. You have violated the sacred code of our kingdom. Your irresponsible actions have brought shame upon your family and put our colony at risk. For your crimes, you are hereby banished. Before Alaric could respond, he was surrounded by soldiers who escorted him out of the kingdom and into the vast wilderness beyond. As he walked, the weight of his banishment pressed down on him. He had been an exemplary ant until that fateful day when he succumbed to his own desires and betrayed his colony. With no kingdom to return to, Alaric wandered the forest, foraging for food and sleeping under the canopy of leaves. Days turned into weeks, and weeks into months. During this time, Alaric came across other creatures who had also been banished or exiled from their groups, each with their own story of sorrow and regret. There was Boris, a squirrel who had stolen nuts from his tree family. Hazel, a rabbit who had hopped into a forbidden garden. And Finn, a fox who had disobeyed his pack leader's orders. These outcasts, much like Alaric, were searching for a place to call home and a purpose to fill their days. Seeing their shared struggles, Alaric, who had always been a conscientious ant, decided to take action. He gathered the outcasts and suggested they build a new home together, a place where they would not be judged for their past mistakes, but rather accepted and valued for who they were. His idea was met with skepticism. After all, they were very different from one another, and their past mistakes were significant. But as they discussed the possibilities, they began to see the potential in Alaric's plan. Together, they ventured deep into the forest, searching for a suitable location for their new home. Finally, they found a clearing bathed in sunlight, surrounded by tall trees that offered shelter from the elements. Here, overlooking a sparkling stream, they started to build. The ants used their knowledge of tunnels and chambers to create a labyrinth of cozy rooms beneath the ground. The rabbits, with their powerful legs, helped dig the foundations and move large rocks. The squirrels, nimble and quick, climbed the trees to gather branches and leaves for roofing. And the foxes, with their keen sense of smell and hearing, patrolled the perimeter, keeping watch for danger. As the days passed, their new home took shape. It wasn't long before they had created a haven that was warm, inviting, and most importantly, their own. They named it Havenwood, a testament to the hope and second chances that resided within its walls. News of Havenwood spread throughout the forest, attracting other creatures who, like them, were looking for a place to belong. Deer with injuries from hunters, birds with clipped wings, hedgehogs without spines, and even a lone wolf seeking solace after being separated from his pack. All found refuge and acceptance at Havenwood. Their community thrived. The ants, drawing upon their collective wisdom and experience, taught the others valuable skills such as gathering food, building shelters, and defending against predators. In turn, the other animals shared their unique abilities, enriching the lives of the ants and making their community even stronger. Life at Havenwood was not without its challenges. There were times when the food was scarce, the weather was harsh, and dangers lurked at the edge of the woods. But the residents of Havenwood faced each challenge together. They learned to rely on each other's strengths, to support each other through the tough times, and to celebrate each other's successes. In the bustling metropolis of the Ant Kingdom, life went on, much like it had before. Alaric's departure. The queen continued to lay eggs, the workers continued to toil, and the soldiers continued to guard. But something was missing? A sense of unity, purpose, and hope had been lost. One day, as the workers were returning to the kingdom after a foraging expedition, they came across a wounded bird. Its wing was injured, making it unable to fly. Despite their busy schedules, the workers stopped to help. They carried the bird back to the kingdom and, under the guidance of the Elder Council, cared for it until it was well enough to fly again. This act of kindness sparked a change in the hearts of the ants. They started to question their relentless pursuit of order and control. Could there be more to life than just following rules and completing tasks? Was there room for compassion, empathy, and friendship in their society? These questions echoed through the metropolis, stirring the ants from their long slumber of complacency. They yearned for something more, something that resonated with the compassionate and caring nature that resided within them. Meanwhile, back at Havenwood, Alaric had become a respected member of the community. His past mistake, which had seemed like the end of the world, had ultimately led him to a place where he was valued and appreciated. He often thought of his former colony and wondered if anything had changed. One day, a letter arrived at Havenwood, delivered by a curious bluebird who had seen the change in the ants' behavior. The letter, written in tiny but elegant script, invited Alaric and his friends to visit the Ant Kingdom. The ants wanted to speak with Alaric, they said, and discuss ways they could learn from each other and build a better future together. Alaric, along with the other leaders of Havenwood, accepted the invitation. They saw it as an opportunity for understanding, growth, and perhaps even reconciliation. When they arrived at the Ant Kingdom, the ants were surprised to see not just Alaric, but the entire Havenwood community. They had expected Alaric to come alone, but the sight of such a diverse and thriving group of animals was a shock. However, they were eager to listen and learn. The ants showed them around their metropolis, explaining their systems and traditions. In return, the Havenwood residents shared their experiences of living in a more open and accepting community. Over the next few days, the two groups engaged in lively discussions and shared meals. The ants learned about empathy, compassion, and friendship, and the Havenwood residents gained insight into organization, efficiency, and discipline. It was a time of cultural exchange, personal growth, and the forging of new bonds. By the end of their visit, both the ants and the Havenwood community had transformed. The ants had rediscovered the importance of values like compassion and community spirit, and Havenwood's residents had learned the benefits of structure and discipline. As the sun set on the last day of their visit, the ants invited Alaric and the rest of the Havenwood community to stay as guests in the Ant Kingdom. It was a gesture of newfound friendship and a symbol of their shared commitment to creating a better future together. They realized that true strength lay not in blind obedience or ruthless efficiency, but in diversity, acceptance, and mutual respect. The once rigid Ant Kingdom was now a place where laughter echoed through the tunnels, where compassion replaced judgment, and where the lessons of Havenwood inspired a new era of kindness and understanding. And so, the story of the Ant Kingdom and Havenwood became a legend, whispered from ant to ant and from animal to animal, reminding them all that true strength comes not from uniformity, but from diversity. True progress comes not from blind obedience, but from questioning and adapting. And true happiness comes not from material wealth, but from the richness of community, friendship, and love.